Every single time you see me here in the studio recording the show, I am using an Uplift standing desk. I've been using Uplift standing desks for years, long before they were a sponsor. A standing desk gets my creative juices flowing. It's better for your health. And Uplift desk is the best in the business. Sturdier than other brands I've tried. Thousands of ways to customize the desk, choose the shape, material, accessories, and more. Go to upliftdesk.com/Pacman to receive up to $300 off, plus 4 free desk accessories. The link is in the description. Welcome to the show. What a day in the American political scene we had yesterday. Kamala Harris was interviewed by Fox News' Bret Baier, and Bret Baier tried to do gotcha after gotcha, and Kamala Harris caught every single one, crushing Trump and exposing Bret Baier for the dishonest tool of right-wing media that he has become. With edited clips deceptively done, Kamala Harris caught it. And in this first clip, Bret Baier tries to get a basket of deplorables comment out of Kamala Harris. Bret Baier goads her into saying, "Are you saying Trump supporters are stupid?" And Kamala Harris is ready for it. She doesn't fall for it. She doesn't fall for the bait, and truly shameful stuff from Bret Baier. Now, later, we'll see Bret Baier's reaction to this interview. Visibly shaken by how this all went down, because she didn't fall for a single one. Here's Kamala Harris saying, "Of course I'm not going to insult the American people. What are you trying to get me to do, Bret?"
Supposed to be a
so
cakewalk.
Are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is
God,
it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
Perfect answer. Perfect answer. You're trying to get me to insult and demean the American people? I'm not going to do that. And by the way, it's Trump who's constantly demeaning people at every rally, in every interview, during town hall events. It's Trump the bully, Trump the demeanor. And then this is really maybe the most controversial part of this interview. At the end of that answer, Kamala Harris mentioned Trump talks about the enemy within. Trump is the one saying, part of the problem is other Americans, Americans who don't support me. This is unbelievable. Kamala Harris called out Bret Baier for showing a deceptively edited clip of Trump that doesn't include Trump saying we have an enemy within our borders. Okay, so let's do this in order. Here is Kamala Harris after the clip was played saying, "Bret, that's not what Trump's been saying. He's been saying more than that." After, I'll show you the full clip and then what Bret Baier played for Kamala Harris, and you will see how dishonest and pathetic this is. But here is Kamala Harris noticing that the clip was deceptively edited, calling it out. You can't ask for something better than this.
That clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within, that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you.
That was the question that we...
And now Bret Baier gets insanely defensive because he got caught red-handed. She was ready. They tried to pull it on her and she didn't go for it.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it.
Now, of course, the reaction from some of the MAGA Patamians was, "Oh, she sounds angry." First of all, the angry black lady trope. Come on. Do you guys have anything else, you pathetic people? But wouldn't you be angry if Brett Baier is setting you up with the deceptively edited clip and Brett Baier knows he got caught? Here are the clips, okay? You will first see what was played by Fox from Trump's answer about this, and then you will see the full answer, which includes Trump calling Americans the enemy within.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
Kamala Harris has said you sound
So now we're going to the actual answer here.
unhinged, and unchecked power is in our future. What do you say about that?
I thought it was a nice presentation. I wasn't unhinged. You know what they are? They're a party of sound bites. Somebody asked me, can they be brought together? You know, I never thought really, I wasn't thinking like they could, because they're very, very different. And it is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. They're Marxists and communists and fascists, and they're sick. I use a guy like Adam Schiff because they made up the Russia hoax. It took 2 years to solve the problem. Absolutely nothing was done wrong, et cetera, et cetera. They're dangerous for our country. We have China.
Dangerous for our country, Marxists, communists, the enemy within. That's Trump's answer about bringing together Democrats and Republicans, liberals and conservatives, left-wingers and reactionary fools, whatever. Trump's actual answer included, this is the enemy within. They are Marxists and communists, and they are terrible people. Brett Baier should be ashamed of himself. Fox News should be ashamed of itself. And Kamala Harris, you've got to give her credit. She was ready. She knew exactly what they were doing. Couple other interesting moments. Kamala Harris did clarify, I'm not just going to be an extension of Joe Biden's presidency. I'm my own person. I bring my own experience, and it's going to be my presidency.
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes into office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C. I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me, who were just on stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector, and others who can contribute to the decisions that I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing, addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with the private sector to bring more capital and access to capital to our small business leaders, including my plan for a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and for small businesses.
And you hear Brett Baier there, desperate to interrupt. And this was a theme, and it got so bad as every one of the traps Brett Baier set, Kamala Harris skillfully evaded. He just keeps trying to interrupt more and more, to the point where Kamala Harris eventually goes, could I like actually answer a question here?
Before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
It's funny how the right reacted by saying she couldn't stay on topic, so he was right to interrupt. Have you ever seen a Trump interview? Mr. Trump, should Google be broken up? They're purging people from voter rolls in Virginia. Oh, the question was about Google. Kamala Harris actually stayed on topic. Brett Baier didn't like it, and he would try to change topic. And the reaction from this interview, to this interview, from the MAGA right is pretending like it was terrible for Kamala Harris, when she obliterated every single trap set up by Brett Baier. Now let's talk about what Bret Baier looked like after this beatdown was over. Fox News host Bret Baier was visibly shaken after his failed Kamala Harris gotcha interview. I'm going to admit to you, it gives me great pleasure to play these clips for you. Bret Baier set up traps and tried to bait Kamala Harris into calling Trump supporters stupid. He tried to set her up with deceptively edited video clips, which she immediately pointed out, that's not what he'd been saying. You've just edited that in a deceptive way. And it went so terribly for Bret Baier, lost control of the interview as he just tried dishonest tactic after dishonest tactic. And this was Bret Baier afterwards explaining what happened. He looks shell-shocked.
I actually think this is a different take. I think she had a mission that she wanted to do, and maybe she wanted to have a viral moment. She wanted to have a pushback. She came to Fox News and she wanted to have a go after Donald Trump viral moment that plays on a lot of other channels and on social media. And I think she may have gotten that.
You know, what's so funny about, first of all, Bret, it's not a big gotcha that she had the goal of performing well in the interview. Like, what he's fundamentally saying is she came in here knowing I'm going to try to perform well. Well, yeah, that's what candidates do when they're trying to say, hey, make me president of the United States. What are they going to come in and say? I have absolutely no goals here. Yes, the goal is to perform well and to sway voters. The viral moments from the interview were all self-owns. They were own goals from Bret Baier. He tries to get her to insult Trump supporters. She doesn't take the bait and says Trump's the one who demeans other people. He generated the viral moment by trying to set that really stupid trap. He played a deceptively edited video of what Trump is saying about the left, and she caught it and it became viral. He set that up. If he had stuck to policy, he would have denied her these viral moments. And it feels very Trumpy that Bret Baier seems really upset that he was outdone. I'm not going to say because Kamala Harris is a woman, but he was expecting to control it and to get her to step into these traps and to get her to react to the deceptively edited video without saying that's a deceptively edited video. And she didn't do any of it. Now, here's what I do sympathize with. Bret Baier says that she was late to the interview.
Yeah, obviously, thanks, Sean. It's great to see you. It was a little tense. We were given the time of 5 p.m. Eastern time. Obviously, my show is at 6 p.m. They wanted to tape at 5 p.m. We said we were going to tape as live. In other words, roll the tape and then just turn that around, unedited, uninterrupted, and but we had to do it before 5:15. Otherwise, we couldn't turn the whole machine around before the top of the 6 p.m. show. So we were waiting at 4:55, and then 5, and then 5:05, and then 5:10. At 5:17, the vice president walked out. So it did feel a little bit like they're icing the kicker or trying to.
So listen, I do sympathize with this. In my much more limited experience interviewing elected officials, they are late really often. It's rare when they are on time. I do find it disrespectful. I get that things come up. She's the vice president. She's running a campaign. They all do it. This isn't about Kamala. I very much sympathize with the frustration about they run late, and then that means you get a shorter interview. So I'm with Bret Baier on this, but overall, a pathetic display of failed journalism, and Kamala Harris was ready. Donald Trump reacting to the Kamala Harris interview with Fox News, flipping out about it before it happened, and then afterwards seemingly thinking that it didn't go very well for Kamala Harris. So let's lay this out. Before Kamala Harris's interview with Bret Baier on Fox News, Trump took to Truth Central and said, quote, "Lion Kamala Harris has widely chosen Bret Baier of Fox News to do a much needed interview because he's considered to be fair and balanced, though often very soft to those on the cocktail circuit left. I would have preferred seeing a more hard-hitting journalist, but Fox has grown so weak and soft on the Democrats, constantly polluting the airwaves with unopposed Kamala representatives, that it all doesn't matter anymore. Hopefully the people will understand on November 5th and early voting make America great again." Yeah, when Fox News has become too liberal and in favor of Democrats, you would, if you were a normal person, have some introspection and go, maybe it's not that Fox News has become liberal. Maybe it's that my policies and ideas are nuts, but that's not Trump's instinct. Then Trump continuing, how much time does Ian Sams, senior advisor to Lion Kamala Harris, spend on Fox News? He's now on Cavuto, Fox's lowest rated show by far, and spent much of the weekend hitting Trump totally unopposed before two real beauties, Eric Shawn and Arthur Neville, not exactly the next Walter Cronkite of the broadcasting world, blah, 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 attacking Fox News. Okay, the interview then takes place, and then Trump goes back on Truth Central and says the following. Great job by Brett Baier in his interview with Lion Kamala Harris. She has a massive and irredeemable case of Trump derangement syndrome. So bad, in fact, that she's barely able to talk about any subject other than the man who had the best economy ever, the strongest border in history, and who just got the unanimous endorsement of the U.S. Border Patrol, me. Their endorsement was a tremendous honor. They said that Comrade Kamala did a terrible job, the absolute worst in memory, and can't be allowed to do it again. She's also the worst vice president in history, but hopefully will soon be gone. Congratulations to Brett Baier on a tough but very fair interview, one that clearly showed how totally incompetent Kamala is. For the good of our nation, her inferior cognitive ability must be tested at once. You know what happened? Trump saw that Brett Baier tried to get her to insult Trump supporters, used a deceptively edited clip of Trump that makes Trump look a lot better than the reality of what he said about the enemy within, and Trump liked it. Trump liked it. The fact that Trump liked the interview is further evidence that it was a pathetic partisan hack job conversation and set up by Brett Baier. But you know what? It didn't matter because Kamala Harris knocked it out of the park, and now it leaves them sputtering about how this, that, the other thing. What about her cognitive ability? One last note. We'll talk about this later or probably tomorrow. The fact that Trump is now saying Kamala Harris's cognitive ability is a problem is yet another instance of projection. We are increasingly all learning Trump's cognition seems to be the real issue. So Trump takes it and now points that at Kamala Harris. It doesn't seem to be working. No one believes she has a cognitive issue. I spend a lot of my day in front of screens, and sitting for long periods has been linked to poor heart health, bad posture, diabetes, the list goes on. And this is one of the many reasons I started using an Uplift standing desk many years ago, long before they became a sponsor. I stand when I'm doing work at the desk. I sit to film, and it's all on the same adjustable desk. A standing desk boosts my energy throughout the day, makes it easier to stay alert. I use the desk for everything. I'm sitting at it right now. I use it every day to record. I've tried a ton of different standing desks. A lot of them are wobbly or cheap. They don't provide cable management options. I've stuck with Uplift Desk for so long because it is rock solid and stable, built to last, super high quality materials, and they offer way more customization options. So many different things: keyboard trays, file cabinets, headphone holders, desktop computer trays, and everything you really need. And their desk configurator tool lets you customize it exactly the way you want: storage, ergonomic seating, wire management, all of it. And Uplift Desk is giving my audience up to $300 off plus 4 free accessories when you go to upliftdesk.com/Pacman. The link is in the description. Our program depends directly on your support. Get the full David Pacman Show experience and the daily bonus show by signing up at joinpacman.com. Just a few dollars a month, or even less if you prepay for the entire year, goes directly to support the work that we do. The right wing is so well funded. They have so many organizations, media organizations, on-campus organizations, independent outreach organizations. They are so well funded, and the left doesn't do it. If it's not this show, maybe there's some other independent left-leaning show that you like. Maybe you'll support them. But if it is this one, I invite you to sign up at joinpacman.com. You can use the coupon code SAVEDEMOCRACY24 to save bigly off of the cost of a membership. Read about it and sign up at joinpacman.com. I have a tough message for the MAGA people. Facts don't care about your feelings. Even if you don't like the fact that the economy does better under Democratic presidents, the economy does better under Democratic presidents. I bring this up because I was last week when I was in Las Vegas, I filmed an interview on the Digital Social Hour with Sean Kelly. One of the clips that went viral from the Digital Social Hour was me explaining the economy does better under Democrats. I'm going to play the clip for you in a moment. The reaction to this from the MAGA right, other than sending me hundreds of emails, many containing anti-Semitic slurs or death threats, other than that, the reaction was that I'm lying. They never present contradictory information, but they just say, I'm lying. Obviously, the economy does better under Republicans. Let me play the clip for you, and then we're going to talk about it. Economy does better when a Democrat is president. Stock market returns are higher when a Democrat is president. Job creation is higher when a Democrat is president. GDP growth is higher when a Democrat is president. Inflation is lower when a Democrat is president. Unemployment is lower when a Democrat is president. Consumer confidence is higher when a Democrat is president, on average, over long periods of time. Wow. So I don't know if you remember, in 2020, Trump said if Biden wins, we'll have a 1929 style depression. Didn't happen. Trump's saying the same thing now. Some people, all they have is a hammer, and so everything looks like a nail to them. They're always making the same predictions. Okay, this clip so wildly triggered so many people, and not a single one, not one, hundreds of emails, thousands of comments about this. Not a single person was able to present data that contradicts what I said. So I want to really distinguish economic and social views and see if we can drill down into reality here. When it comes to social issues, opinions are going to vary in a way that is much squishier than on the economy. Gay marriage, abortion, this sort of thing. Some of it is about cultural norms or how we think society should function. People are entitled to their own perspectives. There's a lot of room for debate. I would still argue for my views being the right views in a sense, but people can come from different backgrounds or have different lived experiences or different ideal models. So I get that opinions are going to differ on a lot of these social issues. When we are talking about the economy, this is not about feelings or personal beliefs. The economy is driven by numbers, data, and outcomes in a way that is bigger than opinion. People who know me know that the issue of the economy is not a partisan issue for me. I'm not pro-Democrat or pro-Republican when it comes to the economy. I am pro-best economy. Pro-best economy. Not pro-Democrat, not pro-Republican. I follow the facts. When you look at the data objectively, a very clear picture starts to emerge, which is that the American economy performs better under Democratic presidents. Average GDP growth under Democrats, 3.8%. Under Republicans, 2.6%. Data's clear, okay? U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis. Find the data. Fact check me. Job creation. Democratic presidents average 2.5 million new jobs a year. Republican presidents average 1 million new jobs a year. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Fact check me. Stock market performance. We'll look at S&P 500. Under Democrats, 10.8% average annual return. Under Republicans, 4.8%. It's just S&P data. You can do the math yourself. You don't need anybody to tell you. Go and look at the return each year. Average it out. You'll figure it out. Inflation, 2.9% a year under Democrats, 3.8% a year under Republicans. Just look at the inflation data from the Federal Reserve. Don't believe me? Go and fact check it. The deficit, under Democrats, the federal deficit has decreased an average of 0.5% per year on average. Under Republicans, the deficit has gone up 2.5% per year on average. That's U.S. Treasury data. Fact check me, bro. Wage growth, inflation-adjusted wage growth under Democrats, 1.6% per year. Under Republicans, 0.6% per year. U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, go and fact check me. So Democrats are not perfect. Democratic economic policy is not flawless. We still have poverty. We still have problems, people without health care, etc. But the numbers don't lie. So if you care about facts, and I do, why would you ignore the data and insult me or simply say I'm wrong without actually looking up the data for yourself. If the economy did better under Republicans, I would tell you. I would then be in the position of having to say, I believe that the ideas of Democrats are morally right, but the statistics don't back them up as being good for the economy. It happens not to be the case. So go find the data and don't write to me and just go, David, you're so stupid. The economy does better under Republicans. That's not an argument. I just gave you the numbers. Find the numbers and dispute the numbers if that's what you want to do. If I told you Trump is doing a Latino town hall, you wouldn't need any more information to suspect that it's going to be a fiasco. And it was. I am particularly interested in this as a Latino American or Hispanic American. Oh, but David, you look so white. You look so white. I'm an immigrant from Argentina. By any assessment, color of skin is not really how we figure these things out. By any assessment, I am Hispanic. I am particularly interested in this. This was a Univision town hall event, and it is wacky, wacky stuff. This first clip is very visual. The people in the audience look really confused when Trump says Ashley Babbitt was killed on January 6th. Nobody was killed on January 6th. What? Look at this.
Action was taken, strong action. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Nobody was killed.
And you see this woman here on the left of the screen who just is like, what the hell is this guy talking about? The audience visibly disgusted with Donald Trump. A truly viral moment that came from this town hall. A former Republican confronts Trump and says, your actions were disturbing. And this is just unbelievable that Trump stood there and took it. And I love it. And this guy did a really good job. Check this out.
I am a Republican, no longer registered, though. I want to give you the opportunity to try to win back my vote.
Right.
Okay. Your, I'd say, action and maybe inaction during your presidency and the last few years sort of, was a little disturbing to me. What happened during January 6th and the fact that, you waited so long.
By the way, something very wrong with Trump's makeup, but we're not going to make that the focus here.
To take action while your supporters were attacking the Capitol. Coronavirus, I thought the public was misled during coronavirus, and that many more lives could have been saved if we would have been informed better. And also people in your administration who don't support you. I'm curious how people so close to you and your administration no longer want to support you, so why would I want to support you? If you would answer these questions for me, I would really appreciate it and give you the opportunity. There's, your own vice president doesn't want to support you now.
Thank you, Ramiro.
So the people that don't support a very small portion. We have a tremendous, about 97% of the people in the administration support me. But because it's me, somebody doesn't support, they get a little publicity. The vice president, I disagree with him on what he did. I totally disagreed with him on what he did. Very importantly, you had hundreds of thousands of people come to Washington. They didn't come because of me. They came because of the election. They thought the election was a rigged election.
And how did it occur to them to go to Washington on January 6th?
And that's why they came. Some of those people went down to the Capitol. I said, peacefully and patriotically.
So Trump shirking all responsibility, saying, you're saying it seems like people from my administration don't support me. They mostly do. The people that came to the Capitol were not there because of me. And also they were mostly peaceful. And the guy is not convinced. Look at the expression on this guy's face. He's like, are you kidding me, bro? Are you kidding me? And it was all like this. Trump was asked what 3 qualities he admires in Kamala Harris. Every answer is just so pathetic.
Se me hace justo hacerle exactamente la misma pregunta que le hice a la
There will be translation here, just so you know.
candidata demócrata.
Good evening, Mr. President. I only think it's fair to ask the same question I posed the Democrat candidate.
¿Cuáles son las 3 virtudes que usted reconoce en la vicepresidenta Kamala Harris?
what are the 3 virtues that you see in Vice President Kamala Harris?
That's a very hard question. That's the toughest question. The other ones are easy. Look, I'm not a fan. I think she's harmed our country horribly, horribly, at the border, with inflation, with so many other things. But she seems to have an ability to survive.
An ability to survive, number one. I don't know what that means. Her body is able to synthesize nutrition and oxygen to continue living.
She seemed, because, you know, she was out of the race and all of a sudden she's running for president. That's a great ability that some people have and some people don't have. She seems to have some pretty long-time friendships, and that's, you know, also, that's, I don't call that an ability. I call that a good thing. And she seems to have a nice way about her. I mean, I like the way, you know, some of her statements, some of her, the way she behaves in a certain way, but...
I don't know why I find this answer so damn funny. He's so disoriented by it. The topic of guns came up, and Trump was asked to explain his views on guns to the parents of victims of school shootings. And Trump goes, "Oh, you need guns for like entertainment and stuff."
Thank you.
With respect, could you explain your gun control policy to the parents of the victims of school shootings?
I could. We have a Second Amendment and right to bear arms, essentially. And I'm very strongly an advocate of that. I think you need that. I think that if you ever tried to get rid of it, you wouldn't be able to do it. You wouldn't be able to take away the guns because people need that for security. They need it for entertainment and for sport and other things. But thank you.
People need guns for security, entertainment, and sport. That's what Trump would say to the parents of victims of school shootings. Mr. President, my son tragically was killed in this particular school shooting. What do you say? Well, listen, we need guns. We need guns for security, entertainment, and sport. And as ridiculous as that is, I believe it. I believe Trump in his mountain of insensitivity would say something exactly like that to the parents of victims of school shootings. And then finally, Trump asked, why did you kill the Republican border security bill that contained all of the stuff you wanted? Trump doesn't answer.
What is your plan for an immigration reform?
Y quisiera preguntarle, ¿por qué usó su influencia sobre los legisladores republicanos para que no respaldaran la propuesta que hubiese brindado refuerzos a la frontera?
And I also would like to ask you why you used your influence to ask the Republican legislators to not back up the strengthening of our border through the proposal.
You like strong borders, so do I.
Yeah, he doesn't answer the question. He just says stuff like that the entire time. We didn't need a crystal ball. We didn't need a crystal ball to predict that a Trump Latino town hall was not going to be particularly successful. And speaking as a Latino voter myself, I watched this whole thing. I did not come away more likely to vote for Donald Trump. I can't speak for anybody else in that room, but I can speak for myself. After this short break, we are going to dive deep into what is happening with the image of masculinity in the United States, the manosphere, alpha and beta, all of this stuff. After this short break, let's hope you like it. Don't forget that the best way to support the David Pakman Show is by becoming a member, which gives you access to the daily bonus show, the regular show with no commercials. You also get access to our entire archive of every episode dating back a really long time and plenty of other awesome membership perks. Go to joinpakman.com, joinpakman.com. I want to talk today about supposed toxic masculinity. And I think this is going to be a good discussion, not only about masculinity itself, but also about whether it's broken and the effect that MAGA Trumpism has had, as well as Trump himself and the manosphere influencers, Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson, the effect that they've all had on this issue. And it'll also let us talk a little more broadly about the cultural questions around masculinity, whether there is a crisis of masculinity, whether it has anything to do with trans people or the LGBT community, as some on the right like to claim. And to even frame this issue, we first have to talk about what we can agree on as the facts go. Now, one fact is that manosphere influencers like Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson, Tucker Carlson, Patrick Bet-David, the Liver King, and others, you might say, well, I don't know if this one or that one is necessarily part of the manosphere. To a degree, Trump is part of this. They've gained huge followings. And to many of their followers, to the young men that follow them, they really have become mentors, in a sense, about what it means to be masculine, what it means to be a man, alpha versus beta. And the theme here is that these manosphere influencers and figures are usually a particular type of man, but not always. So they tend to look physically strong, sometimes because of steroids, but they have a particular look. They purport to have sex appeal or implicitly present themselves as what a traditional heterosexual woman would want. They're not usually super enlightened when it comes to egalitarian views and ideas. Now, you might notice something. You might hear me saying this and you might be saying, David, have you looked at Trump? Have you looked at Jordan Peterson? They are not these muscular stereotypes of the alpha male. And you would be completely correct. One of the interesting things about Trump and Peterson and some others is they've managed to take on the persona despite not really being that. Trump is obese. He's out of shape. He's not attractive in any normal sense of the word. He doesn't exercise. He's not strong. But he's managed to build the persona. And Trump has been able to do this by playing up negative traits also associated with masculinity in some circles, like never admitting to mistakes. He doesn't read sissy books. He doesn't eat vegetables, that sort of nonsense. So the next thing to explore is why have people, especially young men, right-leaning but not always, been drawn into this? And there are some realities about what's happening along gender lines in the world that we really shouldn't ignore. It is true that in some areas, young men are falling behind young women, and the power dynamics for romantic relationships are being skewed towards women to a degree. Now, it's critical for me to mention here, CEOs, presidents at the top positions of power are still very skewed towards men. But in sort of a general level, women are doing better in school. Girls are doing better in school. Women are more likely to go to college. Women are more likely, and they're actually starting to surpass men in terms of entering into what we call elite knowledge work, some of the more desirable jobs. They're doing better in test scores. And this then has the further effect of making men less appealing in the heterosexual dating pool. One big trait that predicts a man's success in long-term romantic heterosexual relationships is, does he appear to have prospects in life? And the better women and girls do, the more the bar is sort of raised as far as men are concerned. And we see more and more men having zero relationships with women, being unable to find women willing to date them, etc. So in a sense, we should acknowledge, especially we on the left, there is a reason that men would say, I need something. I'm looking for something to help me. And so what you end up with is this fertile ground for the rise of toxic masculinity, or if people don't like that phrase, we might call it distorted masculinity. Maybe that makes more sense. What Trump and Peterson and Liver King and this steroid sales guy on Twitter named Andy Elliott and Andrew Tate, what they tap into is they portray the strength and dominance that a lot of men think they aspire to. And they offer a narrative that if you're failing, it's because the system is woke or the system is rigged against you. And the solution, according to many of them, is even more cartoonish masculinity. Let's talk about the way this works. You tune into these influencers, and there's a huge overlap with the MAGA right wing. And then they capitalize on your insecurities. The girls are doing better in school. They're getting into better colleges. They're not paying attention to me. They're getting better jobs right out of college. They're the ones who decide which of these 10 gentlemen suitors am I interested in dating. And what these manosphere guys offer is the promise that you can reclaim your status through dominance and aggression. The parallel to Trumpism is so clear. Trumpism sells a vision or a version of masculinity, really both, that is also rooted in these primal instincts and returning to a bygone era when America was great. And that includes male dominance, male success over female success in the workplace and education, women relegated back to working in the home and raising kids. So the debate around wokeness and toxic masculinity, that may not be the right language, but it's language that turns many people off. And we've talked about that. But what we have is this Instagramification of masculinity, symbols of strength and power, guns, muscles, aggression, sometimes steroids, sometimes supplements, sometimes eating cow heart or at least a carnivore diet. It's all intertwined with the same ideology. And what we end up with is a right-wing echo chamber that glorifies the alpha male that people like Trump claim to be, despite the fact that Trump actually isn't it. And the distortion is significant. If you look, by the way, at true alpha behavior, even in primates, it includes compassion. It includes being a leader of your community or your immediate clan of animals, if we're talking about the animal kingdom. But the Trumpist version of alpha masculinity is rooted in aggression and in dominance, which actually fractures society and communities rather than strengthen them. And it also doesn't really do anything to help the young men who are struggling to achieve what they claim to want. Now, the other aspect that's really important for us on the left to acknowledge is that part of Trump's dominance as a political leader, part of the reason for the success of people like Trump and Andrew Tate at creating this perverted archetype of masculinity, is that there is not a meaningful, healthy masculine archetype for the left. Now, I'm going to give you examples to look at, but what we end up with is a space, a vacuum in which Trump and Tate and the Liver King archetypes offer something that is appealing to people, even if it's a regressive and harmful version of manhood. MAGA masculinity values, appearing strong and tough over genuinely contributing to your community, being a good father or partner, being a teacher or mentor, it starts to look good because all of those things I just mentioned are dismissed because they're either effeminate or they're worthless or they're not going to appeal to women in the version of masculinity espoused by MAGA and by the manosphere. We also have to recognize that the right is really good at setting up rabbit holes everywhere in ways that the left doesn't have. You might be interested in learning about personal finance. You wind up listening to Dave Ramsey, and next thing you know, you're in the right-wing manosphere echo chamber. You might be looking for content about business and entrepreneurship, and you wind up listening to Patrick Bet-David and his disproportionately right-wing guests, or you end up with who the hell knows which steroid influencer on TikTok. You might be interested in Zoomer pop culture, and you end up listening to like Brett Cooper. And then the entire sport of MMA is essentially a big right-wing rabbit hole at this point. The left doesn't really have that. The healthier and more progressive model of masculinity should be presented. There should be an effort made by the left, even if we don't have these ways of pulling people in like the right does right now. Things like EQ, emotional intelligence, would be valued. Empathy, community building. You don't abandon strength and ambition. You don't say strength and ambition are bad, but you integrate them with values that are not antisocial and actually promote collective progress and respect. The leftist masculinity model still has strength as a feature, but it's using your strength to protect vulnerable people rather than just dominate others, to contribute to society, to teach, to be an activist, rather than the MAGA win at all costs with unhinged aggression. Instead of a view that here is the one model of masculinity that's approved, it's, hey, you know what? There are many models. There's LGBT, there's trans, there's all of this stuff. And being an ally of those groups doesn't make you any less of a man or any less strong. If anything, it makes you stronger because you understand your identity isn't jeopardized by supporting others. Now, before getting to some positive examples of masculinity from the left, it's also relevant to mention that even many of their alpha male gurus don't even meet their own image of masculinity. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, Donald Trump is obese. He's out of shape. He dyes his hair. He wears a massive amount of makeup. He's not athletic. He fake tans his skin. He was scared to join the military, so he got a letter about his bone spurs. He constantly plays the victim. He says he's treated so unfairly. He lost an election because he was not respected and treated unfairly by Biden or whatever. That doesn't even fit their own model. Jordan Peterson seems extremely fragile emotionally. There's nothing wrong with crying, but regularly weeping and wailing in his interviews is very much not the picture of masculinity that the right loves to play up. He's also very far from the rugged look that the alpha MAGAs claim is best. And if you look even at someone like Andrew Tate, the stories and the narratives about the sexual conquests are so over the top and obnoxious and obvious braggadocio that they seem more of a reflection of his insecurity rather than his dominance. So now let's talk about some other models of masculinity. Tim Walz is an interesting example, and I bring him up not because he's the epitome of this, but because he's in the news right now. Tim Walz doesn't fit into the right-wing stereotype about the left's men because Tim Walz knows guns, he knows farming, he knows auto maintenance, he knows football. But he also knows that sometimes you might defer to a woman in leadership the way he does running alongside Kamala Harris. You respect and you support women and you cooperate when it's possible. And he's guided by these principles of equality and justice while being closer to the vision of masculinity that the right champions. Scott Galloway, we've talked about before, the investor, now podcast host, author. We've talked before about Galloway in terms of his enlightened views on social issues, while at the same time being the super wealthy masculine figure who doesn't need to put others down. And he has most of what MAGA alphas say you want in a man, except on social issues, he's very progressive and he makes it clear his masculinity is not at all threatened by supporting trans people or gay people or whoever the case may be. Barack Obama is another interesting example. You know, as a constitutional law professor and, you know, he got mustard on whatever, a hot dog. They try to play it up like Obama's kind of a sissy man. But the truth is that President Obama is very calm and totally in control of any situation in which he finds himself, values and understands collaboration, has a high EQ, doesn't shame people or make fun of them the way Trump does. He's thoughtful. He wields significant power, but not through aggression and dominance. Instead, it's by connecting with people. He sees Michelle Obama as a 50-50 equal in his marriage. He's spoken about the importance of being a dad to his daughters. He doesn't suggest that he values his children primarily for what job they get or how much money they make, the way Donald Trump has shown. So there are absolutely interesting models on the left and from the left of a less toxic masculinity. So is there a crisis of masculinity? I don't even know what that means. But what the right asserts when they say that is too many sissy men. I think it's clear, especially if you look at the world of the MAGA manosphere type influencers, if there is a crisis, the crisis is caused by or a result of a perversion of what it means to be a man that comes from the right and comes from MAGA and to some degree comes from Trump. If you value what we do at the David Pakman Show, remember to support us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/David Pakman Show, where you can get access to behind the scenes videos, the daily bonus show, the commercial-free daily show. You can support the show for as little as $2 a month. Check it out at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. All right, my friends, I am really, really worried about something. On Tuesday, I laid out the case that if the election were held today and polling held, Donald Trump would likely win re-election. At minimum, it's 50-50. It's a coin flip. And I defended this by showing the polls. I showed the map. I was the messenger. And the message was we had better damn well vote because this is either a coin flip or Trump is likely to win. I received hundreds of pieces of hate email, but email can be anecdotal. What about the data? Well, the data is disturbing. The video I did on Tuesday generated, as of the moment we took this screenshot, 348,000 views, 348,000 YouTube views of that story, with a net loss of 85 subscribers. Now, you might say, well, David, losing 85 subscribers on a video isn't really bad. A video like this, based on normal traffic with 350,000 views, would normally generate a gain of 1,500 subscribers. So to get to minus 85 means that nearly 1,600 people unsubscribed from my YouTube channel because they didn't like what I was communicating in that video. It's not just YouTube. Even paid members are showing their disgust by canceling paid memberships. Here is a screenshot of about 20 paid memberships canceled that afternoon, and there have been dozens more. Now, do I feel personally hurt by this? I mean, sure, yeah. The fact that dozens of people are canceling because I said, hey, here's what the Electoral College looks like right now, on a personal level, that's not very nice. Clearly, the goal is to hurt me financially. But the real issue is, what does this mean about November? And what does this mean about the audience? This is like someone saying, you've got a basketball game. There's 10 seconds left and we're down by 1. And instead of drawing up a play to get one damn basket and take the lead, you say, fire the play-by-play announcer who told us we're losing by 1, who gave us the score. Some people wrote, David, that story was too negative. It's too negative. Well, how is anybody well served by ignoring that by a really small margin, a single point in many of these states, Donald Trump might become president? The reaction should be, wow, it's really close, but we can win. Good thing you're telling us how close it is so that we make sure we vote and we make sure other people vote. So listen, I am shocked we lost subscribers. Please subscribe on YouTube. Yes, I'm crushed that we lost dozens of paid members who were saying, David, I don't like that you reported on what's going on. I'm going to try to hurt you financially. So please become a member at joinpacman.com. I would appreciate that very much. But the truly scary part of this is that it is not a winning reaction. The winning reaction is, damn it, there's no sane country in which this would be 50-50, but it's 50-50 and Trump might win. Not by a lot. Let's activate. Let's phone bank. Let's door knock. Let's make sure that we are voting. That would be the logical reaction, not I'm going to cancel David because he reported this to me. So we will see where this lands in just a few short weeks. I'm worried about what this means for the left if being told Trump's gaining an edge, it's really close, makes you say, I'm going to cancel David rather than let's come up with a plan to win. That doesn't sound like a winning strategy to me. So I want to be proven wrong on November 5th. We can win this thing, but we also have to acknowledge where the polling is. Maria Bartiromo on Fox News is the epitome of the Trump brown-noser, but she got Trump to admit he sometimes proposes random policies just to get a reaction with no plan whatsoever of implementing those policies. What a surprise, Maria. Here is Trump asked about his idea of a 200% tariff, and Trump says, whatever, 100, 200, 500%, I don't care.
Your thinking is the threat of a 200% tariff will stop them from taking the car. So you won't actually have to do it, so you're not going to actually push prices higher.
I never,
That's your
until
thinking.
Now, I said 200. I'm using that just as a figure.
But you say 200 a lot.
Oh, I'll say 100, 200. I'll say 500. I don't care. They're not going to bring cars into this country from Mexico.
Trump is saying, I will say whatever just to scare them. And the problem with this is, while some MAGAs will say, I like that. He's unpredictable. You never know what he's going to do. It keeps our adversaries or even our allies on their toes because they never know what Trump's going to do. That's not what you want in a president of the United States. You want stability. You want trustworthiness. You want a man or woman who, when they say something, you can trust that that's really what they mean and that that's actually going to be a reliable negotiating partner. But if you're voting for Trump because of the policies he's promising, when he goes, oh, I'll say whatever, I don't necessarily plan to do any of this stuff, I'm just saying things, how do you even know what policies you're voting for? And of course, the answer is a lot of these MAGAs don't really care what policies they're voting for, and they don't really know what policies they're voting for. Now, at another point in this interview, Maria Bartiromo, who, as I've said before, she used to be a good financial reporter. She understands basic economics. She points out, if you put this tariff on products, the prices will go up for here in the United States. And Trump goes, no, they won't.
But what about the criticism, and the Journal has done this as well, that if you do put something like a 200% tariff on a product, that it's only going to mean higher prices for consumers?
It's not. No, it doesn't mean that.
It's got to be passed on somehow.
She points out, she knows enough to know how it works. She points out that somehow that cost is going to be passed on. And Trump's like, no, it's not. It's just not. It's not going to be passed on. Well, guess I never thought about it that way. Trump also told Maria Bartiromo during this interview this line about the enemy from within, and that you might even need the National Guard to put down protests from those with different views to Trump.
Let's remember, you've got 50,000 Chinese nationals in this country in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You've got people on the terrorist watch list, 350 in the last couple of years. You've got, like you said, 13,000 murderers and 15,000 rapists.
Right.
What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful election day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within. Not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
Trump is talking about deploying the military against American citizens domestically, depending on their political views. That should be a red alert headline. In times past, a presidential candidate, a former president saying something like that, we need to really look at the military against the radical left domestically. That would be weeks of headlines, and it would be campaign ending. It's just Wednesday in the United States of America. That's all it is. And Maria Bartiromo barely even reacts to it. Finally, Donald Trump saying he's doing really well with women. He's not doing really well with women.
I also think I'm doing really good with women, because women want protection. They want...
It's about security.
They want security. They don't want to have migrants coming into their backyard.
Right. Trump is not doing well with women. And in fact, Donald Trump is suffering one of the most lopsided gender gaps against him that we are seeing when it comes to women voters. And Maria Bartiromo just goes, security, security, security. As soon as you get off of anything even remotely economic, Maria Bartiromo goes down a conspiracy spiral. Bonkers stuff. But this guy could win. Don't kill the messenger. This guy could win. On the bonus show today, we are going to break down J.D. Vance's claim that his mom finally got health care under Trump. It happens to have been Obamacare that got her health care. Kind of a funny little story. We will also discuss the new controversy over FBI crime statistics, revisions to 2022 data, new 2024 data. All of it will be on the bonus show. And finally, Elon Musk, who said we need Twitter as a neutral space for whatever, has now dumped $75 million into Donald Trump's campaign through his America PAC to try to put Trump back in the White House. What is going on with Musk? Is the money actually helping? And what happens to Twitter if Trump wins versus if Trump loses? All of those stories and more, you know where to find it.
Oh, the bonus show where you want to make money.
Yeah.
Everybody else that makes money to fund themselves is bad.
Join the bonus show by signing up at joinpacman.com. We will see you then. Pre-order my book at davidpakman.com/echo. Thanks a lot for watching today's show. I just want to take a second to tell you about today's sponsors. Every single time you see me here in the studio recording the show, I am using an Uplift standing desk. I've been using Uplift standing desks for years, long before they were a sponsor. A standing desk gets my creative juices flowing. It's better for your health. And Uplift desk is the best in the business. Sturdier than other brands I've tried, thousands of ways to customize the desk, choose the shape, material, accessories, and more. Go to upliftdesk.com/Pakman to receive up to $300 off, plus 4 free desk accessories. The link is in the description.